Hi, welcome to episode number 1 of Opus Tech Talk. Some may say it's a little bit OTT. Sorry, I had to get it in there. So the purpose of this podcast is for myself, Ashley White, IT consultant, IT sales consultant, I should say, here at Opus, and Stephen Hart, our IT sales director.
Hello.
To get a bit exciting, talk all things Microsoft, especially with the pending or impending Inspire event that's coming up next week. We thought it'd be good to recap on what we talked about on some campaigns we did last year from 2019, which of course was done in Las Vegas, and to see actually how the stuff that came out from that event has really had an impact, especially in the COVID-19 times. So yeah, I mean, let's get straight into it. Maybe you could just recap a little bit around what happened last year.
Absolutely. It's been a big 12 months actually, because we've seen a lot of the old traditional systems disappearing. Good old Server 2008, SQL 2008, of course, Office and Exchange 2010, going to die off in just a couple of months' time, and precious old Windows 7 finally bit the dust. Exactly. So it has been a big year. And we've, of course, with the COVID then also seen the prevalence of Microsoft Teams and what that has done, the growth that it's experienced thanks to the remote working situation. And I think we have seen the roadmap for Teams come on leaps and bounds in just the last few months. It was moving fast anyway, but COVID, of course, has accelerated that beyond all recognition. And I think you were pulling out and mentioning a few of the cool new features coming down the line.
Well, one of the things that really struck me looking back at what happened last year was they were boasting quite rightly around the fact that they had 14 million active daily users on the platform. I think the last count that came out of Microsoft, albeit even just a few months ago, was 75 active daily users, which is mind-boggling.
Not only that, I saw a stat today which boggled my mind even further. 75 million active daily users, 200 million daily meeting participants.
See, those type of figures, not even things you can even get your head around.
Mad, isn't it?
Yeah, and all of it's done. Well, it is so simple. I think ultimately that's why it wins. And I know there's some new features that are coming out, which we're certainly going to be talking about in the near future, how to make those experiences even better for people working from home, bringing people together, being able to have much better closed captions and all the rest of it. But in terms of Teams features from last year, I guess the big one was Teams Voice, which we knew was something that was coming out. We talked about how we could see the demand being what it was, and certainly COVID-19 expedited, as we know, but the amount of businesses that we were speaking to beforehand who were potentially going to adopt it, and it became a no-brainer for them overnight.
Yeah, completely. We saw clients with a 12-month roadmap to move across to Business Voice or Microsoft Phone System, suddenly compress that 12-month roadmap into 1-2 month period because of COVID. So it's just changed the market completely and the landscape. And of course, we saw a bit of a rush on to purchase laptops, Surface tablets and such like. Some of us are already geared up to work that way, but other organizations suddenly rushed in to try and buy these devices, and it led to a bit of a shortage. But one of the other things that came out of Inspire last year was, of course, Windows Virtual Desktop.
One of my favorite features, actually.
Yeah. Obviously partly released to address the end of life Windows 7 situation, but then of course, as well as that, it provides another avenue to go down in a situation like COVID lockdown, where there's a shortage of laptops, there's a shortage of mobile devices, and it gives you another method of secure remote working from anywhere. And now, of course, Microsoft are going to be optimizing Microsoft Teams to run in Windows Virtual Desktop,
because that was the bit that it was ultimately missing. And I mean, like I said, we're geared up with the devices in our environment already. But if you say, I can think of my partner being one of those people who we had a laptop at home, so it was used, but if we didn't have that, the business would have, what would they have provided her with? Would it have been secure? And actually having WVD just creates that safe environment that you as an IT element, if that's the focus, are not having to compromise security to offer that working from home environment. So I can only see WVD growing, although people would now have decided that they can work from any machine. Is it secure enough without WVD? And that's probably the one area that hasn't been looked at enough, I don't think, with the product so far.
No, exactly, and that's something that obviously we're doing more work in, and this ties into also the unveiling of Microsoft 365.
Yes.
Now, obviously, Microsoft, just to complicate things, have rebranded some of the Office 365 business plans to also be called Microsoft 365. But obviously, originally, the original Microsoft 365 came with enterprise mobility and security features, and tied in perfectly to the Windows Virtual Desktop. So this idea of that you can bring mobility and security and a virtual desktop delivered from Microsoft Azure to any device. So, of course, it plugs that gap that you just mentioned, where you can deliver a virtual desktop experience, a remote desktop experience with OneDrive, with Microsoft Teams and all your other Office 365 apps, but also have the conditional access, also have the security, multi-factor authentication. So your data loss prevention tools, compliance tools, retention periods and such like, to lock down that environment to keep it 100% secure.
So I was just getting a pop-up for bug fixes on my laptop there, which wasn't a distraction at all. Hope there's nothing wrong. As just to kind of touch on the bit you said around Intune is probably the other important part of the EMS package. And you speak to clients now and they say, well, what is the whole point of Microsoft 365? Why was the name change? And you can see with their what they're trying to do is have that modern workplace environment. So your license, I think the term they're trying to get to is license for life. So your license that's what you have, and it includes everything you need based on your license type, of course, different levels and tiers. I'm still be interested to see what they do with Office 365 E3, if eventually that completely goes and Microsoft 365 E3 and E5 are then the only options, because I can't see where that fits, considering they retired the business essential licenses and so on. So that'll be interesting to see.
It will be. Particularly as Office 365 E3 is probably the best-selling Office 365 package, certainly amongst our clients, mainly for the compliance and security that it brings over and above the business plans. But we're watching this very closely because obviously Microsoft have said that the product catalog is being consolidated. So there will soon be a single global product catalog for Microsoft Cloud Services. And that catalog will be available to buy through any licensing and subscription structure. So be that CSP, like ourselves, cloud solutions provider, enterprise agreement, or direct from Microsoft. And the interesting thing is that, and this is the case right now, you can mix and match those different methods of purchasing Microsoft licensing. So you can buy some licenses on EA, some direct from Microsoft, and some via CSP, which is great for organizations like us, where we have a really strong support set up for our clients within the UK, and we can extend services across to mainland Europe as well. But for global organizations, being able to mix the benefits of enterprise agreement to provide that multi-geo global reach, but with local CSP providers, you can provide local support within the business hours of that local country, domestic region, as well as the license flexibility to flex up and down from month to month. It's essentially the best of both worlds, and it's really the end client that wins out of all of this.
Yeah, well, absolutely, because what you're not having to do is put all your eggs into one basket, even for what is a single supplier from Microsoft, because Dynamics has always done it that way, to a point where you had a Dynamics partner, let's say, because it's ultimately a very specialist product. where we see that gap in the market at the moment is, and where it really works, is Opus, of course, is built on a foundation of telecoms. But for the last 5 years, as we know, we've been focusing on that Microsoft piece from a technology point of view. But the two entities in themselves are very separate. So what that enables is for a client that they have a CSP relationship, very fond of their relationship and have no reason to move away. They don't have to compromise using their voice element if that's not their strength. They can come to Opus from that point of view, for example, and say, you can take us on that adoption journey with Microsoft 365 Business Voice or phone system, and you only look after that area in our environment. And it gives the control back to the customer. And they say they always win, but it also gives them the control to pick and choose based on the product and the knowledge that client has, which is then leads on to the accreditations, because then you can focus to get your gold with cloud productivity, or I know that they're launching one for voice, so that you have to show that you've got your competencies in that area, which fundamentally is what the client should be looking for.
Absolutely, and I know our engineers are chomping at the bit to take those exams and to get those accreditations as soon as possible.
Absolutely. I do one myself, but I think I'd pass it 100% and show everyone else up. So I'll leave it to those guys.
So it's really exciting time for all of us, and exactly as you've said, that ability to mix different partners with different specializations is going to be really worthwhile for both clients and the partner network, of course, because we work with partners to deliver services like Microsoft Dynamics. Other partners will work with us to deliver services like voice. Areas where you can't be a master of everything. You need to have your specialisms, and this is where the client can then have those joined up Microsoft partners to get the best of every angle.
Absolutely.
So exciting stuff.
To
inspire.
It's next week now, so late nights, Domino's pizzas, because even though it's not officially at an event where we can go to, it's still going to be in America. So a couple of evening sessions sitting there watching through. I mean, if you've seen the amount of sessions there are, even with a few of us watching them, we're not going to capture everything. And that's why we thought these were a really good way of trying to comb through what is all very important information, but the real headliners, the things that are going to grab the attention and make the most difference, and bring those to you guys, whoever's watching, as and when we hear about them. So from my point of view, that's quite exciting.
Really exciting stuff. So our highlights of Inspire going to be coming out probably the week after Inspire. I'd imagine, as we trawl through those late nights and all the content. I think particularly Microsoft Teams is again likely to feature heavily.
Well, we've already had a few rumors, haven't we, coming through the grapevine, so it will be interesting to see if they come to fruition, and if they do, I mean, that adoption is only going to get stronger.
Absolutely. So watch this space, and hopefully we can even demo and illustrate some of those new features coming down the line.
Excellent. Thanks, Steve.